Meanwhile, back at Allie's high school, Brooke seemed very troubled, and then her boyfriend Jeff walked up and asked Brooke, "What's wrong, honey?" And then she said, "Oh, nothing, I'm just concerned about my friends, and they are in love with the same guy and they both want to have sex with him." And then Brooke said, "Yes, it's the same guy that's been having sex with Allie lately, and apparently Allie has a boyfriend now, and I just saw him, he's a very handsome guy, but I just thought it was very strange that both of my friends barely know him and they want to have sex with him. I just think the whole situation is weird because Allie has actually been out of school for 5 days having sex with her new boyfriend." And then Brooke's boyfriend said, "Holy shit, I knew something was different about Allie today, but I just didn't know what it was until now. She seems very comfortable around handsome guys today, and Allie didn't get nervous or flustered like usual. She even seemed charismatic, and that's what it was. She got laid, didn't she? And she lost her virginity. I want to meet this guy." And then Brooke said, "Well, you will get your chance because we are going to Allie's house later tonight for Halloween." And then all day Brooke couldn't help but be suspicious of me, and she said, "He is handsome, but I don't understand what is so damn special about him." And meanwhile, back in my car, Allie and I just got done having sex in my car after I told her the truth about everything, and she still wants to be with me even after finding out that I am married with 6 wives, and she didn't care about that at all. And then we went back to Allie's house and we had sex, and then Annie Thompson found out about us going to see a pregnancy doctor, and she said, "Allie, you barely know this man and you're too young to make any irrational decisions." And then Allie smiled sarcastically at her mom and she said, "You don't even know who he is, do you? And you don't even recognize him? He's the owner of the Capsule Corporation." And then Allie's mom put on her glasses and she said, "Oh my god, baby, I didn't recognize him." And then Allie's mom changed her tone really quick, and then she ran up and shook my hand really fast and she said, "Oh my god, sir, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that you were the one having sex with my daughter. I recognize you now." And then I laughed a bit and I said, "It's okay, ma'am, but me being rich shouldn't change how you feel about me having sex with your daughter and wanting to marry her." And then Allie scowled and said, "Yeah, mom, why are you acting nice all of a sudden?" And then Allie's mom got a bit flustered and she said, "Oh, it's nothing, honey. I'm just glad that you are in a relationship with such a successful and handsome man." And then Allie took me to her room and she slammed the door in her mom's face. And then Allie's mom, Annie Thompson, said, "Well, that's very rude. I swear kids these days have no respect." And then Annie Thompson mumbled and said, "I wished I could find a successful handsome man like that." And I heard everything she said, and then Allie locked the door and she said, "Now where were we, handsome?" And I had sex with Allie so intensely for 20 hours that she passed out and fell asleep. And then I went downstairs and I had sex with Allie's mom, and then later Sienna Shaw showed up in her beautiful warrior costume and I couldn't resist Sienna Shaw, so had sex with her too for a while until finally Brooke and her boyfriend came over and I was still naked. And then Jeff said, "Oh my god, dude, please put some pants on." And then I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know if anyone else coming by tonight." And then Brooke said, "Yes, please put some pants on." And then Jeff asked me, "So have you been feeding your pet snake?" And he pointed at my large penis and I said, "I've been feeding it beautiful brunette women." And then Jeff gave me a high five and he said, "Yes, but really please go put some fucking pants on and a fucking shirt." And then I said, "Okay." And then Allie and Sienna Shaw, along with Allie's mom Annie Thompson, they walked in the room with bras and panties on and they were rubbing their eyes and yawning, and then they all said at the same time, "Come back to bed, honey." And then Jeff said, "You didn't, dude, teach me how to do that." And then Brooke said, "No way, you actually did that without getting into trouble." And then I said, "It's fine, I'm in love with them, especially Allie, and I am pretty damn sure that I got all of them pregnant, I'm sure." And then Allie gave me my pants and I said, "Thanks, gorgeous," and I kissed her passionately on the lips and she grabbed my penis. And then Brooke said, "Okay, please don't start having sex in front of us right now, that's enough. This is very weird and inappropriate around us." And then Sienna Shaw said, "I don't think it's weird at all." And then Brooke said, "Honey, you hardly know him." And then Brooke said, "You don't know him either." And then Allie smiled warmly at me and she said, "I know him." And then Brooke said, "Well then tell me." And then Allie smiled and said, "He's the owner of Capsule Corp."